And good morning. It's 7:04 on this Tuesday, March 25th. It's time to head to Studio B for Coleman and Company.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome here on a Tuesday morning. It's going to be a terrific Tuesday, and we're glad to have you with us, of course. And our program is presented each Tuesday by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital, and we'll start off this morning as we do on alternate Tuesdays with our Healthy Minute, and we will join our Mount Juliet friend, the Communications Director, Justin Beasley, in a few minutes. But first, let me tell you what I have today has to do with March being Colorectal Cancer Awareness Month. Colorectal cancer is among one of the deadliest cancers for both men and women. Your risk for colorectal cancer increases with age, but eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly, not smoking, and limiting alcohol use may reduce your risk. Uncontrollable factors that increase your risk of colorectal cancer include inflammatory bowel disease, a family history of colorectal cancer, or other genetic syndromes. Regular screening is a powerful tool against this type of cancer and should begin at the age of 45. Screening can find polyps or abnormal growths before they become cancerous and catch colorectal cancer early when it's more treatable. If you have questions about colorectal cancer, visit the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center. And the same care and Vanderbilt expertise without the hassle of driving downtown is what awaits you there. And for more information, you can visit VanderbiltWilsonCounty.com. Last Tuesday, we talked quite a bit about the Wilson County Health Council's Walk Across Wilson, which is March 23rd through April 19th. And then we talked about a special event that is coming up at Cumberland University, and you can call Vanderbilt Wilson for more information. You can also go to their website and find out a lot as well. But there are sponsorship opportunities, platinum, gold, silver, and bronze sponsorships available. You can get your county's logo, contact info in front of thousands of families in Wilson County, and we hope that you will keep all of this in mind. And with that, let's go to the telephone this morning, and we talked to Justin Beasley. Justin, good morning.
Good morning, Coleman. Happy Tuesday. I say it once, I'll say it again. I mean it sincerely. We appreciate the great program that you have, the large audience that you have to talk about what we think is an amazing city in Mount Juliet.
Well, you were telling me you had an important piece of business last night, but that's about all there was. And tell you what, let's do before we get to that. Let's talk a little bit of sports first, because I didn't have much opportunity yesterday. And those who follow college basketball know that we call it March Madness, and we are down to the Sweet 16 in college basketball. And believe it or not, of those 16 college basketball teams, 7 of them are from the Southeastern Conference, the SEC. And being the old TV sports guy that you are, and having a love of probably all sports, and especially March Madness and college basketball, I thought we might discuss this just a little bit as we begin here this morning. And I know that all of our Tennessee fans are very excited about making the Sweet 16. And of course, they're not going to be satisfied with that and want to go a lot farther, but they've got a little stumbling block called Kentucky that they have a matchup with. I think it's this Friday. I don't have the dates for the games, but anyway, Kentucky and Tennessee going to meet each other here. The winner goes on to the Elite Eight, and the loser goes home. So, what do you think of that one?
Yeah, that's a good matchup. That I was listening to Rick Barnes the other day on another network that was not Want FM, so I won't give them any credit because nobody is Want FM. Let's be honest, but. He was talking about just how much his team has changed, how much Kentucky has changed, and how every game just, especially later in the year, the identity of your team is a lot different. I wrote off Kentucky a while ago, but, when you get when you get into March Madness and it's all about matchups, you can string along 2 games, you're a top 16 team. Kentucky is a 3 seed, certainly has gotten hot at the right time, and it's a big brand, and Mark Pope knows how to coach basketball. I think I heard every scholarship player they have this year was not on the team last year for Kentucky. So it really just speaks to the amazing job that he's done. I think Tennessee's really tough. I think they're almost as good as Florida. They're just missing, really, Walter Clayton, the point guard for Florida, is just a notch above everybody else in college basketball, it feels like this year. But I think Tennessee's got this one. I think they'll be able to make it to the Elite Eight. Yeah, Rick Barnes, that the bugaboo is, he can't win in March. Well, that's not true. He certainly can. He almost is automatic to get to this spot. And, I'm a Florida fan, so I'm not going to say I'm rooting for Tennessee, but, he's a really good person, really good Christian, really good role model. And I think Tennessee's got a really, really good team this year. So I think they'll get past Kentucky, honestly.
Well, no, another thing really in their favor, it's just hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. And they've already lost twice to Kentucky. It's hard to see them losing a 3rd time.
Oh, absolutely. And Tennessee's got a good brand, and they got some really good depth, and they've played good in the tournament so far. So I think with a week of rest and that familiarity, I think it's still I don't think Tennessee's got much to worry about. But as Rick Barnes says, all it takes is 1, and then you're going home.
Yeah, and as you look at the brackets here, it's not beyond the realm of possibility that 4 teams from the SEC could be in the Final Four. Now, it's not probable, I think, but Alabama's pretty good, and they could make it in that on the top right of your brackets there if they could win out, and then either Kentucky or Tennessee, and the 2 of them could meet in the semifinals, and then on the other side you've got Auburn and Ole Miss. And you've got Florida and Arkansas. And I think for sure Auburn and Florida are the better of the 4 there. But can you imagine Auburn and Florida playing and either Kentucky or Tennessee playing Alabama in the Final Four?
Well, listen, Coleman, if it gets to that point, I vote to move the tournament back to Nashville temporarily for the last 2 games. If Greg thinks he's going to make it SEC tournament 3.0, let's at least be able to go to it in person, right? Hopefully Nashville gets that, down the road when we have the new stadium at Nissan Stadium. I say we, just us in Middle Tennessee. But, you look at the likes of Mount Juliet, we really benefit from a new stadium in Nashville when you get Beyonce and you get Taylor Swift and you get all these big-name stars that come to Nashville. They stay in the Mount Juliet hotels once Nashville fills up, and that helps, fund our park system. So we're all for those big cranes in Nashville. That only helps out Mount Juliet.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that. If something like that happened, how it benefits Mount Juliet, and you just explained that the overflow from Nashville does benefit you. Maybe even Lebanon might receive a little benefit. Depends on how many and how full up the hotels and motels are.
Oh yeah, and what I heard was what I heard is on pretty good authority. Nashville hasn't had a Super Bowl because of the hotel occupancy.
Oh.
So Nashville will now get a Super Bowl. It's not any breaking news. There's not a date set yet, but they're certainly going to get one. That's why they haven't had the draft in so long, because this new stadium's coming along, which will open up the doors for a Super Bowl. And the NFL, how they like to spread their wealth, that's why they're trying to do NFL drafts in other spots other than Nashville, even though I will say, and I'm biased because I've been to the one in Nashville, there's no better draft spot than Nashville, Tennessee. It was amazing. It had millions of people downtown. Again, as I like to say, a high tide raises all ships. That only helps out Mount Juliet. People come here, spend their money, and stay in our hotels. It really is a good system. We like when Nashville's hustling and bustling.
All right, it's about a minute before we normally go to a break, but rather than bring up the big item from your meeting last night right now, and might not have time, we're going to wait after the break and talk about what transpired last night. You got all the information for us, and just waiting to give us when we return here on Coleman and Company, FM 98.9.
Let's see what's happening on the roadways. Want to thank our friends at Bates Ford, and they've got the Works Vehicle Checkup. They'll make sure your vehicle is ready for any road. $59.95 up to 5 quarts of oil, tax and disposal, tire rotation and safety check. 1780 Franklin Road. And I did get an update. A car fire on 40 westbound at the Wilson County Davidson County line has slowed traffic in that area. Now with the rest of traffic, here's Chuck.
Trying to move a little bit better here in Rivergate from that earlier wreck westbound via Don Vets. As you get on that ramp to 65 going southbound, it's building down through Millersville, right on schedule, coming through that section of Sumter County as it loads up now through the Mount Juliet area, leaving Wilson County. Just busy this time of the morning going westbound. I-40 on into Hermitage. Watch for radar on I-40 out in parts of Dixon County. Hey, for the ultimate transportation here in the Nashville area, book the Music City Rhythm and Rides Party Bus. Log on to mcityrr.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
And now, a moment of silence to remember our dear friend.
Sorry. Oh, man. Life can be uncomfortable. Your home doesn't have to be. With a wide range of air conditioners, furnaces, and heat pumps, Rheem makes it easy to feel comfortable, even when you can't be comfortable.
Financing available through TVA's Energy Right program and your local power company. Call Randy's Heat and Air 237-3604.
What is your passion? How can you use that passion to enrich your community? Hi, this is Melanie Minter, President and CEO of the Lebanon-Wilson County Chamber of Commerce. Your chamber is the resource for making connections to fulfill your passion. Whether education, nonprofit, agriculture, entertainment, or government relations, Wilson County offers a place for you to be involved. Your chamber connects businesses, individuals, and your passion to the community. We have an enthusiasm for excellence. Join us and catch the spirit. Call or visit our office at 149 Public Square in Lebanon.
And we continue here on a Tuesday morning. Let me remind you again, our program is brought to you by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital, and they are very much involved in the walk across Wilson. And also want to remind you about the April 5th event at Cumberland University, where you can walk with your company, your family, your friends at Cumberland. And that is on April 5th, and that's all a part of this. It's kind of a two-part thing, the 2025 Walk Across Wilson, where you walk equivalent to about 36 miles, I'm told. And then, of course, at Cumberland, the big day there, April 5th, when you can walk with your company, your family, and your friends at Cumberland University. Now, back to our friend at Mount Juliet, Justin Beasley, the Communications Director. Tell us about last night's Board of Commissioners meeting for the city of Mount Juliet.
Oh, it was short and sweet, and we like them that way. Not too much that was newsworthy that came out of it as far as something that the public would understand that they would need to know about. But I do want to touch on something. R.J. Coleman, we have reached an agreement with them a meeting ago where we're going to improve our railroad tracks when you're heading north from downtown Mount Juliet. Basically, if you've driven that road, North Mount Juliet Road, you usually veer to the right a little bit when you get past those train tracks. It's always provided a little dip, so we're going to improve that. We're going to try to, once again, safety is paramount in Mount Juliet, and we want to make sure our citizens and the cars and everything that traverses over that is in, responsibly driven. So we'll have to shut down some lanes probably on a weekend in the spring, closer to summer, to fix that. So that'll mitigate how much traffic we really impede upon, hopefully on the weekend where there's less people traveling. But we are looking to improve that railroad track right there when you drive over it heading north. And I think that'll be a pleasing sight to many, many people that travel that road every day that are from Mount Juliet. They absolutely know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, how long is it going to take to do this? And you're just talking about filling in on either side pretty much, or is it just one side where the dip is?
Just one side to my knowledge. Now, I'm not an engineer. I don't know if they need to do anything to the other side to level it out. it could take a bit as far as design and, but I think the physical part is just going to take a weekend, like a Friday, Saturday, maybe early Sunday type thing. That's the early prognosis that I'm getting. And again, we're going to try to do that on the weekend so we're not impeding the traffic that is pretty heavy in the mornings and afternoons on North Mount Juliet Road, a state route. So we got a lot of stuff with TDOT as well and get their blessing.
Well, is this something that a little skin in the game for the city of Mount Juliet? In other words, you spending a little money to bring this about, or is this strictly the railroad doing it?
Oh, this is skin in the game for Mount Juliet. You know how we operate. If it's on a state route or we need to clean some trash on a state route, we're not afraid to roll up our sleeves because, while it is the state's responsibility, we look at it as, this is happening in the city of Mount Juliet. We want to speed up this progress and the process. So we will be doing this. We will be doing the funding as far as I understand. But, that's Kenny Martin's way. We put our citizens first, and we're really not willing to wait on a ton that we can get to and tackle ahead of the state. So I think this is just us being good stewards and making sure that safety is paramount in Mount Juliet. So that's a really good question, Coleman. We could wait. We could wait for the state to do it. They've got a large list of things that they're trying to do across the state, and we understand that and respect that. But we are trying to improve this. A lot of stuff, just by the nature of Mount Juliet, happens on the state route, North Mount Juliet Road, Lebanon Road, things like that. So we can't always wait. We got to tackle our major roadways earlier the better.
Okay, you surely discussed something else at last night's meeting, though it might not be so newsworthy. Was it a really short meeting? Do you have anything else you want to tell us?
It was a really short meeting. I mean, sometimes when you look at the agenda, things happen, but it doesn't. It's like annex a small property onto the city or approve like a little sewer line. It's not always something that's going to resonate with the public. And again, as I said last time, I want to make sure everybody stays awake on their drive to and from work when they're listening to me talk on this program. We did a little safety project in a workshop before the Board of Commissioners meeting that started at 5:15, and just trying to address certain roadways that need a little bit better visibility, better safety. We're working with a company on trying to figure that out. We polled a lot of our citizens to get feedback on that. One of the big things that came away from that meeting, as far as the numbers are concerned, is the number of fatalities in the last 5-6 years for motorists that were unrestrained. And when I say unrestrained, I mean did not have a seatbelt on. I know I get in the habit sometimes if I'm going to a quick errand of not putting my seatbelt on. And, the mayor mentioned a really good point that, we've had campaigns since the 1980s on Buckle Up, Tennessee, Buckle Up nationally. So we're going to try to start promoting it. I wouldn't say it sounds silly. We're just trying to continue to dive into the young minds that are driving early in the morning to high school, those college kids, and even adults can be reminded, let's buckle up. It can save a life. And I think we're going to try to do that in Mount Juliet just so we can remind people just how important that seatbelt is. It really is.
Well, I don't know how often citations are given, but you can if, especially the highway patrol, maybe the local police or sheriff's office people. I don't know how often they do that, but there's a sort of a minimum fine to be paid if you're caught without your seatbelt and get cited, I understand.
Yeah, that's the thing is that when you get fined for no seatbelt, it's $20. So the risk is $20 or a potential loss of life. Those really don't add up. So we did discuss last night, and obviously we're not able to change the state law, but you look at that fine, it probably needs to be upped a little bit. Maybe that would convince kids that, hey, if they catch without a seatbelt on, I'll lose $200. And that's maybe a whole week's worth of work for a teenager. Maybe they'll think twice about putting their seatbelt on. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but we certainly don't want anybody to lose their life over something as simple as a seatbelt. So we're going to try to do our best to encourage those to do it. It just takes a couple of seconds.
All right, I know we're here approaching the end of March next weekend. March concludes, but and especially as we get into April, it's budget time, and I just wonder what. I guess some preliminary budget work is probably going on kind of in the background. Just wondering, you might talk about it a little bit this morning, what kind of, sometimes budget times can be crisis times. Sometimes a budget is just almost identical to the year before with slight changes, and it sails right through. And what do you expect this time from that?
I know our police and fire were working a lot on that yesterday. Specifically, you're right, it is budget time. Dana Heyer, our finance director, I swear by her. She is the best. I was poking fun at her because I know her prime season, her Super Bowl, is coming up. And I said, is finance full-time? Or is this just like a March to July job? And she laughed and gave me a hard time back. But I'm telling you, they're crunching the numbers. They're trying to figure out, obviously the first thing you present isn't the one that goes through. You got to make some adjustments. You got to tinker a little bit. So right now, Kenny Martin is addressing his department heads and saying what are some realistic expectations. Then we put the numbers all on a sheet and see what works and see what doesn't. We have a workshop that will go before the Board of Commissioners that they will be able to ask questions. Department heads will be able to present, and then it has to pass 2 readings. We usually like to get that to the state comptroller's office a little bit earlier than later. So it's all a process, and I tell you, it doesn't happen in the last 2 months. We're here in March, and we're already getting to it. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. But again, Kenny Martin has done a good job at being frugal during his 14-year tenure as a city manager. So I would argue we're in a really good spot. And as I've always said, the best years are ahead of us. We just got to make sure we're spending it responsibly, which we have done to our credit for as long as I've known.
Well, I'm sure each member of the Board of Commissioners has some input into this. Even they may come up with an idea that doesn't resonate fully with the others. But have you heard of any project, anything new, especially any costly item that might have to be considered this year? A lot of that kind of stays in the background till it is manifested maybe at a Board of Commissioners meeting or in the actual budget negotiations or whatever. But just wondered if there's any scuttlebutt, any rumbling that you can share with us this morning.
I don't know that there's one big, large ticket item outside of, the new recreation center. We passed a resolution on how much spending that will take. And, you can change the resolution. You can add a new one. I believe that amount was $14 million, but I'm not saying that that's going in this year's budget. A portion of that could go if that aquatic center is fully approved by the Board of Commissioners, and I believe that, that'll speak volumes with what makes the budget and what doesn't. But you also got to look at the budget from Kenny Martin's standpoint. Land acquisition is huge. We're thankful to have 10-plus parks in Mount Juliet. I believe that number is that because we just add them all the time and have a lot of green space. But you look at the way the city wants to expand their footprint with their large workforce. We have to acquire land. We have to acquire green space for parks. Those are big purchasing items. But if you look at it, hey, we're going to purchase it in 2025 as opposed to 15 years from now and not have a chance to buy it or not be able to afford it. Some of those come up in the budget. We had a couple of those last year. And that's just, again, having the foresight that Kenny Martin has that he's tasked to do. He's in economic development with myself and Jennifer Hamlin, our development services director. And, he's trying to help people get in touch with the right people to acquire land, to do what they want in certain spaces. Sometimes it doesn't work out, and sometimes it's the right fit for the city, and then we start to get into that negotiation process. So it's interesting how everything works out, but some of those will be in the budget this year or have been in years past. I know that for sure, Coleman.
Well, I take it you're not anticipating any increase in the tax rate.
Nothing that I have heard of, and that you would hear rumblings of that, and that would be a big, large, substantial thing that would come across. And as I like to say, I'm the spokesperson for the city. I definitely don't have the power to do that, but not that I've heard of, and not that I've seen. We've done a really good job at having one of the lowest property taxes in the state, and with that, you get parks. You get fire, you get EMS, and you get all of our city services, which I would put against anybody of a similar size city with a little more than 40,000 people. So, again, we've done it responsibly. We've done it for a long time. That's a credit to Kenny Martin. And as far as I know, we're going to keep doing it just that way.
All right, we've come to the end of our time here this morning. Justin, always good to hear from you, and we'll talk to you, I guess, in a couple of weeks, and hope that things go well. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you, Coleman.
All right, that is part one of Coleman and Company. Of course, it's brought to you by Vanderbilt Wilson County Hospital. We want you to stay with us for more right here on FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. It's all brought to you by our friends at Absolute Kubota. They are, of course, located right here in Lebanon, Tennessee. Want to invite you to stop by their location. You'll be able to notice them because everything is orange on the lot. We love that. Absolute Kubota, high performance, high horsepower, 0% financing is still a thing. Now is the best time to save on new Kubota L-Series tractors, rated number 1 for durability and owner experience in the U.S. Absolute Kubota, 1506 West Main. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. I'm watching them put out a car fire here on 40 westbound, right at the Wilson County, Davidson County line. A lot of rubbernecking going on. This is definitely going to slow down that traffic flow that's coming in from Wilson County into Davidson County on 40 westbound. Trying to wrap up that earlier wreck. Vietnam vets westbound on that ramp there to 65 going southbound in the Rivergate area. Princess Hot Chicken has live entertainment every Wednesday night from 6 to 9. Order online today at princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Welcome to Hearthside Senior Living, Lebanon's unique senior living community designed for seniors to age in place, all within a safe, comfortable, and Christian environment. Beautiful retirement homes designed for an independent lifestyle with maintenance-free living. Hearthside Senior Living also continues the excellent tradition of assisted living for those seniors who need additional services. Hearthside Senior Living, an independent retirement community and assisted living community, all on one campus in the heart of Lebanon. Call 615-443-1994 for a tour.
Where a patient starts their cancer care matters. And here, that means Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, Wilson County. It's Vanderbilt level care without making the drive to Nashville. From screening to diagnosis to treatment and recovery, patients can get all the care they need right here close to home. So now, having the best care team and most advanced treatment is closer than ever. Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center, making cancer care personal.
We'll have mostly sunny skies for today. Highs will be in the lower 70s, partly cloudy for tonight. Lows in the middle 40s, and then mostly sunny and a little bit cooler on Wednesday. Highs in the lower 60s. This weather forecast brought to you by Walker Auction and Realty, professional auction and real estate services. Get top dollar for your home, land, or personal property. Log on to MikeWalkerAuctions.com. They know auctions. With your severe view forecast, I'm Storm Specialist Drew Richards.
We welcome you to part 2 of Coleman and Company here on a Tuesday. It's our usual talk with Sean Dozier, Executive Director of Hearthside Senior Living. Sean's right here with us this morning, and a good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman. It's always great to be here on Tuesday morning.
It's always nice to talk to you about whatever the subject might be, and you can talk about a lot of things. But, of course, in this period of time, we pretty much talk about Hearthside Senior Living at 215 Castlights Avenue North, where you are the Executive Director.
I am, and I told you last week we had a 90-year-old beautiful lady decided that she needed to move into assisted living. She came and toured last week, and she said, "I'm ready." And so she knew several people there. In fact, we walked down the hall. She about knew everybody in the building. She has been here a long time, of course, and knew a lot of people. And she said, just sign me up. So she's going to move into a small room, and then later on, hopefully move into a medium or large room. But she comes over from Academy Place and just right across the street. So it's not that big of a move, but still it's a big deal. And I'm excited about having her. Last week also I got a call from a friend who goes to church with me. He said, my mother is, I don't know if she's ready, but I'm ready. And, when we move her, I'm going to cry and she's going to cry, but it's time for her to move into assisted living. And sometimes we have to deal with those situations where it is an emotional decision because they lived in their house for a long time. They lived on their farm for a long time. And when you move somewhere, that's going to be a different season of your life. And so we deal with that
it's a period
lot.
Of anxiety.
It's anxiety. It's fear. It's a little, the fear of the unknown. And but I always tell them, in about a week, maybe 2 weeks, they'll fit right in, and you'll see a smile on their face. You'll see a difference in their whole cadence because they get their medication timely. They get their meals timely. They get that socialization. They know people. They talk to people, and it just becomes home for them. Really, I was talking to somebody yesterday who dropped their kindergartner off at school, and she said, "I cried when they went in." And I said, that's sort of like Hearthside. Sometimes the kids cry and when they leave their parents or their grandparents, but it really does make a difference when people move in and they get that, that socialization, that medication timely, that the 3 meals a day, the snacks. It makes a difference in their lives. A lot of times, of course, when you live by yourself, when my wife's out of town, I don't eat correctly, or I don't even take my medication right when my wife's out of town. So it does make a difference when you're in an environment, and we have a great environment, Coleman. We've been around since 1994. We've served a lot of families here in Wilson County and Lebanon over the years, and it's great to continue to be a part of that. A lot of the folks that are moving in now, we've served their older cousin or their mother, or it's that second generation actually coming along now. So that's really great to see.
Well, it's Hearthside when it's time for a helping hand. One of our slogans that we like, and of course you still have your retirement community. We don't talk as much about it because it's so full and has such a long waiting list.
I don't need to talk much about it. We have 2 and 3 bedroom homes. We have a long waiting list. They're very popular, maintenance-free living, as we like to say. And when you have a maintenance guy 24/7 available, you don't have to call the air conditioner guy. You don't have to call the electrician. You don't have to call the plumber. We have somebody that does all that for you, and that makes a big difference.
Well, if you want to know more about Hearthside, you can go to the website, which is
hearthsideliving.com, and we have all the pricing on there, all the information, all the services on there for the independent living and the assisted living. So I encourage people to go there. We have videos, we have photos, and if you can't get out for a tour, it's really the best way to see what we have to offer.
But you always invite people, if they want to do more than that, come and really see what they're seeing on the website. Come and see it in person.
Every week,
most any time.
Every week we have somebody. In fact, yesterday we had somebody just pop in to see us for the assisted living, and they like what they saw. I like to have people just show up. It just you kind of get what you see, and I like that because we do. We do have a great environment. It's clean. It's just a wonderful place to serve these folks.
And you don't have to have an appointment, but if you want to make 1-615-443-1994.
Assisted living or independent living, we're a senior living community. I heard our commercial just a minute ago in the heart of Lebanon, and we'd love to have you come by and see us.
How about a Hearthside hello?
Savvy and Sophie. If you know who they are, you know who they are.
I know who they are.
Their mom called me. They're in the white minivan as they travel down the road to school, and so I wanted to say hello to Sophie and Savvy, and hope they have a great day.
All right. Well, when we do the Hearthside hello, it's about time to say goodbye to Sean, so we'll do that and see you next Tuesday.
See you next Tuesday.
All right.
Thank you.
Sean Dozier, Executive Director for Hearthside Senior Living. Well, we're about 22 minutes before the hour, and let me tell you that part 2 of Coleman and Company this morning, paid for by the Wilson County Democratic Women. And this morning, I have live in studio with me the Wilson County Democratic Party Chairman, Derek Hammond. Derek, good morning to you.
Good morning, Coleman. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and it is nice to see you this morning. Now, I understand we'll have a call-in, by the way. There's somebody already on the line waiting to talk at the right time. We're going to have you and this person to talk to, but what I was going to say, we have the Wilson County Democratic Party, and we have the Wilson County Democratic Women. The women are actually paying for this, but they've asked you to come here and be part of our program this morning.
Absolutely. The Wilson County Democratic Women and the Wilson County Democratic Party, we work very closely together. We are two separate entities. We've got our chairperson. They've got their chairperson. However, we have a lot of the same interest in common. So therefore, we attempt to work together as much as we possibly can to ensure that all Wilson Countyans have a voice.
Well, how are things going? And you might tell us more about what the local Democratic Party is all about.
Thank you. Things are going well. And actually, the past election in November has been a very great launching pad for us. I know that we had more Democrats on the ballot than we have in several years. We had the opportunity to train over 100 volunteers, and those volunteers are still staying engaged with us. We are doing things such as monthly volunteer meetings, canvassing, phone banking, writing postcards. And one of the big things, Coleman, is as the school vouchers came out, that unified us even more, because we were concerned that our representatives did not voice what the constituents here in Wilson County requested. You know, our school director as well as the entire school board was unified in against the school voucher issue. And so we are hot. We just finished our chili cook-off, our annual chili cook-off, which is our biggest fundraiser, record attendance, especially for an off-year election cycle. So we're excited about the future, Coleman.
You are, and I suppose even buying the time, the Democratic women here, buying the time here to be on the radio to promote yourself, to expand, to get more Democrats.
Absolutely. And Coleman, if we stop and think about Wilson County 25 years ago, it was a heavily Democratic Party county. And so what we want people in Wilson County to understand is we care about the same things that you care about. Schools being fully funded, our children having safe schools to attend, all those things, workers' rights, fair pay. We are concerned about responsible commercial development. You know, we've lost a lot of farmland in Wilson County over the last 10 years. So we're not against development. We just want to ensure that we have a voice in making sure development is responsible and that we continue to have green space for our children and our grandchildren for years to come.
Do you have criticism about the difference maybe I should just ask, is there a difference really in what you locally feel is important and what is going on nationwide with the Democrats in Washington, D.C. and so on?
And so what we have done is we have catered our concerns to what is most important to Wilson Countyans. And so, yes, there are going to be concerns nationally, regionally, and things like that. And so there's always going to be a big tent, as we call it, with the Wilson County Democratic Party and the Democratic Party in general, wanting to make sure all people have a voice. However, what we have done is we have specifically identified those areas here in Wilson County that resonates with us. You know, a great example is the Wilson County Democratic Women. They are doing a drive right now where they're raising money for the Lebanon Special School District summer reading program, where they feed children over the summer and provide them free books. And so what we have seen is that Wilson Countyans are concerned about our schools. Wilson Countyans are concerned about education. They're concerned about our teachers, our EMTs, our public servants being paid fairly. And so those are the things that we are focused on because we're all Wilson Countyans.
All right, we need to take a break here in a couple of minutes, but we do have, as I said, someone on the line here. Afton Ben is on the telephone and is State Representative Afton Ben, I should say. And good morning. Well, let me turn you on here. Okay, good morning and welcome to Coleman and Company.
Hi, Hi, good morning.
Well, we're going to take a break here in just a moment, but I thought we'd go ahead and introduce you here and let you get a word or two in here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll take a break.
Sure. So I'm State Representative Afton Bain. I grew up in East Tennessee in Knoxville. I went to the University of Texas at Austin and then moved back in 2016. And I've been an organizer for the past 9 years or so. And what that means for your audience is that I've worked across the state helping communities build power and fight bad policies. And then I decided to run for office in 2023 and won. So I'm the State House Representative of House District 51, which includes downtown Nashville, East Nashville, half of Donaldson, and Madison. So I represent about 60,000 voters, and I'm the first woman to represent my district in over 50 years, maybe longer than that. And excited to be here.
All right. Well, we're glad to have you with us this morning. So just hold your thought right there and hold on. We're going to take a break, and we'll continue. This program this morning is presented by the Wilson County Democratic Women, and we have Derek Hammond here with us, and on the phone, State Representative Afton Bain, and more coming up here on FM 98.9.
And let's see what's happening on the roadways. Thanks to Bates Ford and the Lifetime Brake Pad Guarantee. With the purchase of a brake service, replacement brake pads will be provided at no cost for as long as the customer owns a vehicle. Bates Ford, 1780 Franklin Road. Now at traffic, here's Chuck.
Good morning. Trying to clean up this car fire. It's had traffic slow, 40 westbound at the Wilson County-Davidson County line. It was already heavy through there anyway this time of the morning as all that traffic builds out of Wilson County headed towards Nashville. Again, they're in the clearing stages of this car fire, but there's a lot of rubbernecking delays associated with this. As you come out of Wilson County into Davidson on 40 going westbound, it's still heavy 65 south there at Trinity Lane. It's building on I-40 right now in from Dixon County. Hey, Princess Hot Chicken has 2 items on the menu. Order online today, princesshotchicken.com. I'm Commander Chuck with your on-time traffic.
Hello, Phoenix baseball fans. My name is Toshi Kuya from Chiba, Japan, and I'm infielder on the Cumberland baseball team. We have big non-conference home games coming up on Tuesday against our old rivals from Bryan College. Then on the weekend, we travel to Georgetown to take on the Tigers in big Mid-South Conference series. Listen to every pitch and every hit on this radio station or online at GoCumberlandAthletics.com. Check the Cumberland website for the game times. Go Phoenix!
Have you ever desired to live in a stately historical home in the Lebanon Historical District? If so, now you have the opportunity. This is Lou Ann Snyder of A.G. & Johnson Realty, and along with Ed James, we have a large 2-story home listed in the Cumberland University Historic District. It features a brand new roof plus a new HVAC system. Call Ed or myself, Lou Ann, at 615-444-0909 to schedule a tour.
And we continue here. Welcome to our final segment, actually, of Coleman and Company here on a Tuesday morning. And again, a reminder, our program today paid for by the Wilson County Democratic Women. We have the Wilson County Democratic Party Chairman, Derek Hammond, in studio. And Derek, say something so everybody knows you're still here.
Good morning, Wilson County. I am here.
And we're going to go back to the telephone with State Representative Afton Bain, who got to say hello before the break and told us a little bit about herself. So let me ask you, what are Tennessee elected Democrats working on this week in the legislature?
Yeah, so our plan, our agenda, our platform this session has been to lower costs for working families. I think overwhelmingly, not only from my district, but from folks across the state, is that living in the state is unaffordable. People, working families, young parents can't buy houses. Groceries are incredibly expensive, and the cost isn't decreasing anytime soon. And these are just, issues that I struggle with as well. And so the Democratic Party has created a platform to lower costs for the middle class and to put more money in folks' pockets. And so this week in particular, I will be presenting a bill called Pot for Potholes. So you may not know this, but Tennessee has one of the highest costs for folks who are driving in their cars. In terms of car repair because of our potholes and just the deteriorating roads that we have to drive on every day. Your audience also may not know that we have over a $34 billion backlog when it comes to road and bridge repairs. So when you're driving around in Wilson County or across the state and you're on a state road, it probably hasn't been repaired in a really long time. And so this bill would legalize the recreational sale of marijuana, tax it at 15%, and that money would then head to the transportation fund that would help repair our roads. So for me, it's a catchy phrase, but it's also pretty linear in how that money is being spent, which I think is important for Tennessee taxpayers to know how their tax dollars are being spent.
What do you feel are the chances of this bill making it through and passing in the legislature?
Well, unfortunately, at this moment in time, there's a lot of rigid dogma up here in terms of legalizing marijuana. I think that, like we have a teetotaler caucus when it comes to just, voting against all alcohol bills. And, I represent downtown Nashville, so I have a lot of alcohol bills. You have a caucus that believes that, marijuana is a gateway drug, which is just not true. And there are lots of states that have legalized the sale of marijuana. I've heard from veterans across the state that deal with PTSD, women who suffer from fibromyalgia or chronic autoimmune disorders that are begging for us to legalize marijuana so that they could have access to it. So, right now, I think I'm trying to build consensus around this idea. I've done a lot of organizing up here in terms of trying to identify different stakeholders that could speak to why we need to legalize marijuana. And I'll just give you an example. A guy showed up in my office from rural, I want to say he was in Cheatham County, has a farm, Southern accent, good old boy, Republican. And he shows up in my office and he said, well, I moved to Washington State and actually helped launch the marijuana legalization industry there. And I moved back to do this here. And so these are the types of folks that are coming out of the woodwork because they want to see this done. And I think hopefully in the next few years that we can see a bit of a shift in this building and beyond.
All right. What other bills are you hoping to pass before this legislative session ends next month?
So pass, I want to provide a point of reference for your listeners is that we're in the super minority, which means we have, around 22, 23 people at any give and take. So we're not really allowed to pass or not permitted to pass kind of transformative legislation, the legislation that would actually help working families. So but some of the bills, I guess, that we are able to pass are more kind of cleanup bills. They change a sentence here and there. And a lot of those are good bills. Like, for example, Representative Bob Freeman in Nashville passed the Anti-Voyeurism Act, the Victim Voyeurism Act, which was a direct result of a bunch of women organizing when they found out that the individual that they had dated took videos of them without their consent. So, there is important legislation moving forward in terms of the Democratic Party. Unfortunately, the big ideas that, I work on are going to take a lot of consensus building and organizing to get done, at least for the future.
All right. Anything else that you want to share with us before you leave us today?
Yeah, just that, I every 2 years, every election that, this poll comes out, Vanderbilt conducts a poll showing that Tennesseans, one, are incredibly unhappy, two, that life is really unaffordable, and three, that we're really disconnected from each other. And, what happens up here, I think a lot of people think they're immune from it, that doesn't really impact them. I've knocked a lot of doors across the state. I've knocked a lot of doors in Wilson County. And folks just don't feel that politics affects them. And I hear that, but I also want to acknowledge that we haven't been able to do anything transformative or impacting, like ending the sales tax on groceries, which would impact every Tennessean. So, if politics isn't your thing, I hope you'll reconsider. I hope you'll get involved because now is the best time to get involved. Better late than never.
All right. Well, we appreciate you being with us today, State Representative Afton Ben, on the phone with us, and we'll let you go, and we'll continue our discussion here with the Democratic Party Chairman Derek Hammond. Derek, back to you. You want to talk about the reorganization convention that's coming up on April 19th.
Absolutely. Thank you, Coleman. So we have a reorganization convention every 2 years. And so this year, of course, is our reorg year. The date is April the 19th. You can go to wilsoncounty.democrats.org and find out more about that event. But ultimately, what we are doing is we are reaching out to all of our Democrats, whether you consider yourself a legacy Democrat and you've lived in Wilson County the last 50 years, but you've been sort of turned off about how things have been going and you've just sort of become apathetic about voting and things like that. We are reaching out to new individuals who are moving into Wilson County daily that feel like their concerns aren't being voiced. And so what we want to do is we want to ensure that all Wilson Countyans have a vote. And so just because we find ourselves in the minority right now, the supposed minority as far as Democrats are concerned, that doesn't mean that we shouldn't have a seat at the table and a voice.
Well, now, I think you pretty much told what a reorganization convention is about. Anything else you want to say about that? But who can attend?
So who can attend is what we call a bona fide Democrat. And so we have a credentialing committee.
Okay.
We have a credentialing committee that reviews everyone who signs up. And so right now, if you go to wilsoncountydemocrats.org, you can sign up online. But as you provide your name, your address, we're able to look at Vote Builder and things like that to identify whether you historically have voted in the Democratic primary. Mm-hmm. And so if you have done that historically, then we definitely want you there. If you are a disgruntled Republican and you feel like that the supermajority has just gone too far, then we want you to register as well. We want to talk to you about your concerns to ensure that, hey, you're ready to be a part of the change here in Wilson County. So more than anything, if you voted historically Democrat, we want you. If you are crossing over, we want you. We want the opportunity to show all of Wilson County we're here to serve all of you.
How close attention do you pay yourself? And I'm sure it's quite a bit to what is going on in the legislature, since you are the party chairman. What all are you yourself concerned about in the legislature right now that we might talk about in our remaining 3 or 4 minutes here?
And so I believe for us, myself personally, I'm not involved in our legislative committee, but for me, it is all about education. I'm a big education guy. And so when you stop and you see that our representatives chose not to voice the opinion of their constituents on the vouchers issue, that was really frustrating for me. I've got family that are educators, and we sit back and talk about private school education, public school education, and there is no greater work, Coleman, than public education. Because let's not deny the fact that private school education, they will decide who they want to educate and who they don't want to educate. And let's be candid, it's not always about the best and brightest. Sometimes it's just simply about your last name. And so that being said, public education is important, and anytime we take from public education to fund or subsidize private education, the general public should be outraged about that.
There are a number of issues that are controversial. And another thing and it's been mentioned here this morning, we've got just a little time. We need to fill it with something, and I think this is worthy of our discussion here. To take the sales tax off of food, I guess it would benefit everybody. The thing that personally I'm concerned about is can we afford it? How do you feel about that, and do you feel we can afford it?
Yeah, so first of all, we know that neighboring states, I believe Kentucky, has no sales tax on their food. And so when we stop and look at that, Coleman, we have to be prepared to do the work to answer tough questions. One of the problems is we're not willing to do the work. You know, right now, nationally, we see that there is a concern for being willing to change things. And change is not necessarily always good, not necessarily always bad, but you need to put the time, energy, and effort, do your studies, and look at where we are. And what we see is we have a significant surplus up in Nashville. And if we have that surplus, then what we should be looking to do is to benefit all families. And if you take sales tax off of food, you benefit all families. But what we see is up on the Hill, they are not interested in benefiting all families. They are only interested in pushing certain bills like the school vouchers that only affect, well, they can negatively affect everyone, but only positively affect a small portion of our population.
Okay, are there... I guess I better not ask another question. I just look at the clock. We got a minute here.
Because I can talk, Coleman. We've been here before.
Right. Well, kind of close it out. If folks want more information
absolutely
about anything, what do they do?
So if you're interested in making sure your voice is heard, please go to wilsoncounty.democrats.org. You can contact us via the website. You can contact us via social media with our email account. We are here for all Wilson Countyans, and remember, we want to fully fund schools. We want to make sure groceries are affordable. We want to ensure reproductive rights and health care for all individuals, fair wages. And let me say this, I've got to say this, a lot of my friends are Republicans, Coleman. We believe about 85 to 90% of the same thing. The problem is we allow other people to highlight the 10 to 15% that we're maybe not eye to eye on, as opposed to focusing on what best affects our community as a whole.
All right. Well, thanks for being with us this morning. The Wilson County Democratic Party, Derek Hammond, and we heard State Representative Afton Ben on the phone, and our program paid for by the Democratic women. And that's it for a Tuesday. Hope you'll join us tomorrow. Till then, I wish you a terrific day.